It's the peak of the quarter. Numbers are up, the team is growing, press is good, cash runway looks endless. And that's exactly when the Stoic gets nervous. Not because he doubts the success, but because he refuses to be blinded by it. Because history is clear. Collapse never warns before it arrives. And the most dangerous time for a business is when everything feels safe. The Stoics had a name for this mindset: Premeditatio Malorum, the premeditation of evils. Not paranoia, not pessimism, but preparation. Because if you're only building for growth, you're already exposed. Seneca warned, what is quite safe is often the most dangerous. He wasn't talking about war zones. He was talking about comfort. Comfort dulls perception. It breeds assumptions. It tricks you into thinking that what has worked will keep working, that what stands will keep standing. But life doesn't honor your spreadsheets. Neither does the market. The founder who raises a perfect round may forget how to lose. The investor riding a bull market may start believing in invincibility. But Stoicism isn't interested in your peak. It's interested in your fall, and whether you've rehearsed it enough to survive. To a Stoic, visualizing disaster isn't masochism, it's duty. Every morning, Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that he might face insult, betrayal, illness, death, not to shrink from life, but to meet it squarely. In business, this mindset isn't abstract, it's operational. What if your top client leaves tomorrow? What if your funding dries up? What if your product fails at scale? Ask those questions while the sun is shining, not after the storm breaks. Because the Stoic doesn't just plan to win, he plans to lose cleanly. And that discipline is the root of true resilience. In investing, the margin of safety is the buffer between what you pay and what a company is truly worth. It's not about pessimism, it's about survival. Warren Buffett didn't invent it. He just rebranded what the Stoics already knew. Don't bet on best-case scenarios. Build slack. Accept fragility as a fact of life. Seneca echoed this when he wrote, "Fortune falls heavily on those for whom she's unexpected. The man who is always expecting her is unshaken." You don't build a margin of safety because you think you'll fail. You build it because eventually you will. In startups, we talk about agility. In Stoicism, we talk about antifragility, not just the ability to endure shock, but to grow stronger through it. But that doesn't come from slogans. It comes from preparation. A Stoic founder tests their assumptions. A Stoic investor writes memos for the worst case before the best case happens. A Stoic operator keeps dry powder, not because they expect disaster every day, but because they expect it eventually. The key is mental rehearsal. If you've imagined every system breaking, every core dependency vanishing, and you've still built a path forward, then you're not guessing anymore. You're leading. Optimism is useful, but on its own, it's a liability. Blind optimism builds houses on sand. Stoic optimism builds on stone with a cellar. It doesn't deny the future, it just doesn't worship it. That's why Marcus wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." For us, that might translate, the funding could vanish today. The platform could ban you. The laws could change. Are you ready? If not, why are you waiting? Build redundancies, diversify revenue, cut dependence, practice loss. That's not fear. That's sovereignty. The Stoic doesn't need things to go wrong in order to learn. He visualizes the loss, the crisis, the ruin, while everything's going right. Because peace doesn't come from what's working. It comes from knowing you've thought through what won't. And in business, as in life, the worst damage often comes not from failure, but from the surprise of it. So don't just grow. Fortify. Don't just dream. Stress test. Don't just lead when the winds are fair. Lead through the storm you haven't met yet. Because the real margin of safety isn't in your valuation. It's in your preparation.